So, A&B is the greatest archive anyone could ever ask for.
You know, of all the books I've read, of all the other online tutorials I've seen, this was the missing key.
Every video is like packed with this information that I would never be able to get anywhere else. So I would say this is the greatest resource for learning animation.
For me, A&B Animation Library is hands down the best animation learning resource that I've seen. I've tried all the tutorials, I've gotten all the books. I've never been able to really grow until I found A&B.
And it's incredible. I've only just begun it, but I definitely am getting more from that than I did from my 1.5 years of college.
I've noticed definitely that my animation has improved a lot, and it's more alive than ever. And what I also like about this animation training is that you also gain real confidence.
Real Animator Training Library is unequivocally the best resource for animation, 2D animation, traditional hand-drawn animation that I've seen.
So I wholeheartedly recommend the A&B Real Animator Training Library to anybody who wants actual knowledge and actual applicable concepts to create their own animation and to move forward in the field of animation and to set your work above those that are just kind of teaching themselves and not learning these tried and true classic concepts.
A&B is motivated by his students' successes and improvements. He's a great teacher, a great animator with over 20 years experience in the industry, so you can't really get much better than that. I strongly recommend him to anybody.
I'm thinking on how to put in words what I feel about it. I love that. It approached me from my dream of becoming an animator. Every cent I paid in there was worth it.
I like that the library is structured. I can go back and watch it anytime I want to, and he's just got so much knowledge. And I just highly recommend it to anyone who's out there looking to learn traditional 2D animation.
So thank you, MB, so much. And thank you so much for all you done for me.
So, are you gonna join the library?
Hello and welcome, real animators. Welcome to another A&B animation live stream. Alright, so before I jump in and start in-betweening the complex character, which is the beast, which we did in the other stream, I'm just going to let you know why it's taken so long to come back to the stream when I wanted to do it the next day. Because I've been busy building, and you got a question here, why did you take the stream for the Badger down? Well, that's going into the edutainment archives of the Real Animator Training Library. They were up for a good 2-3 months, and you know, they had their views had stalled to about 700 people had enjoyed them and enjoyed it what it was. You know, sometimes things come off Netflix, sometimes things come off Disney Plus. I've got to keep the Real Animator Training Library going, which keeps this channel going. So those of you who really want to see and study from that and benefit from that will now be able to get it in the edutainment section of the training library. And that's what I've been doing. I've been editing a condensed video. First I had to condense all those streams into an hour. Then I had to condense all those into like a 5-minute video. So I had to condense like 15 odd streams, 14 streams of 3 hours into that. It was a lot of hard work. So I've had to build, what's that? Uses mind control tonight. You will animate Ratigan. Oh, that's a good one to do on another stream actually, Lady Tigry Comics, but I'm going to finish up what I was going to do with the Beast on the last stream, because I actually haven't drawn for a week, because not only that, I've had to change the structure of the library because some of the content on there is, you know, the certain copyright laws and things are changing now. So I've had to take down some streams that were up before. So, but the people who had paid for those streams can still access them in the training library. They are still in their accounts, so don't worry about that, but they are no longer available in the edutainment section of the training library. So those of you who enjoyed them and can still enjoy them, but their new audiences will not be able to indulge in those things. So I've been having a massive overhaul of the training library website. So and we're experiencing some issues with the PayPal button appearing on certain products, so all kinds of technical stuff going on, but you can still go and get the training library bundles at present. But I haven't streamed and I'm missing you guys, so I've come here to stream and to draw, because believe it or not, one of the aspects of being an independent content creator is there's a lot of other boring stuff that you got to do besides the drawing, and that's website management and all that kind of stuff. So that's literally where I've been and what I've been doing, but everything is now more or less sorted, so I can come on and do this live stream. So let me change my screens, let me set up my mic. Let me turn off the double mic. Tell me if you're all loud and clear. I've got to say my hellos to the people who are here. We've got Cameron Allen Davidson Black. Hello to you, sir. Silver Sun, Silver Scribbles, Zedpo, and Lady Tyree Comics. Okay, so you'll remember on the last live stream, you all challenged me. You challenged me. You said, I said, pick a character, any character, and I will animate its head turn. And you go out and say, all right then, do the beast. And I'm like, okay. So we got 10 drawings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Now some of these I did clean on the stream, and some of these I tidied up off stream, right? But it didn't take very long at all, right, to get to this standard, and that's exactly why I'm here, to show you how a real animator draws. While everybody else is happy, you know, I see these funny little ads with people tinkering with AI, you know, bring your drawing to life, and they put it in AI and it creates this rendered 3D image of their drawing, but it moves like a dead piece of shit, you know. So I'm actually laughing because those guys, either some of them will be disappointed and they'll come to Real Animator Training and understand that if you really want to bring your drawings to life, you got to draw. Okay, so that's what it is. So makes me laugh, and also makes me excited about the potential of people coming to study the real thing. Hello to you, Joshi. How are you, Joshi? All right, so how does an animator or an in-betweener in between a complex character? Because this is quite a complex character, right? And I haven't drawn for almost a week, but I'm coming cold onto this I'm coming cold onto this to show you the secret techniques. And the secret technique is what we teach all throughout Real Animator Training Library, but specifically we outline it in the advanced archive, and that is the secret science of shape simplification, the Real Animator Training principle. So we've got to get between here and here, right? And then I've got to kind of I've already broken down these things, right? So between here and here, right, I don't want to do anything extra. Like I always say, put something extra. I just want him to kind of lower his mood like this, right? But between here and here, we may need to do something different, right? So between here and here, let's just draw an in-between between here and here, right? We'll show you how it's doing. I'm glad that you're excited. It's great to be with like-minded people, sharing my knowledge and helping them achieve their goals, dreams, ambitions, and desires. So many people who I've worked with or who have joined my program have moved from being a frustrated dreamer into a ruler of their own reality. And I tell you what, that's the most fulfilling part of what I do. Right, so let's take a look at this first example, right? What do I see here? I see a kind of hexagonal shape, right? And then attached to that hexagon, I see a triangle, right? And then I see a triangle within a triangle, right? There, now, are you starting to catch on, right? So, of course, I'm still going to think this character's the beast when I'm drawing it, but right now, I'm in the mode of like, okay, I'm thinking of a hexagon, a triangle, a weird oval, or whatever, right? First things first is that I need to determine, right, my arc, right? That's what an in-betweener needs to be good at. The second rule of real animator training, or the third, is arcing. Either one, arcing, slowing in and slowing out. But I would say the real order is timing, slow in, slow out, and arcing. That's the real animator training order. Now, timing, slow in, slow timing would be given to the in-betweener with a timing chart like that. So let me tell you what I'm thinking about the timing. If I was an in-betweener, I would have been given instructions by the animator, or if you're animating yourself, then you need to know the timing, right? So what I want to do on this is a simple, what we call a half chart, right? I want the in-between to be here, right? Let's number it. Okay, let's call this 1. Let's work it out on the fly, right? I will call this 3, working on 2s. I'll have 5 here. I'll have 7. I'll have 9. And I'll have 11, right? So this is a half chart. So 3 is going to be what I'll call the breakdown, right? It's so funny when I see all these YouTube videos with people saying the easiest way to understand the chart, and all these get you know, fix quick people just wanting quick, easy content. They click on that and they grasp what the guy's talking sense actually, but he's talking in a really like 2-minute, 3-minute video and going, do this and showing about, and they think they understand from that. Right, okay. You need to watch the actual process in action. And this is the power of real animator training, because at the end of the day, people that don't really want to watch the process in action, they just want to consume content and then go away and try it on their thing, good luck, right? So now we're gonna do drawing 3 here, and this is drawing 11, right? So it's almost taken, I could push it and make this drawing 13, right, if I wanted to be safe, and say it's gonna take half a second, because 11 is actually, this is 10 frames starting from 1 to 11, but I could push it to 13 and say it'll take half a second to get to here, because that's what makes it, you know, 12 is half of 24 frames a second. So you see how the timing brain of the real animator is just boom, already on it, right, instinctively. So that's something that you gotta like jump to. So now I'm not gonna, a lot of people would just, beginners and noobs would just draw in a halfway like this, but they're not thinking about the arc, right? You're just being very, very linear with the animation, right? So this drawing, excuse me, this drawing will be drawing 3, right? Drawing 3, I will want him to arc like this, like this, like this, like everything like that. So I am not going to, let's take a good look at his eye. His eye is here, his eye is here, his other eye is here, and his other eye is here. Now the noob mistake, or I should call the animator of today's mistake, because most of them don't have a fucking clue and they use software. And that's why, you know, a lot of them are so afraid of AI, because AI can do what they can do because they don't think like a real animator, right? They're dumb, right? So basically, You want to arc it even on a subtle move like this, because it'll make the world of difference. So I am going to put drawing 3 halfway, but I'm gonna think about the arc, right? Same with the nose, right? That means the nose is going to come a little bit out before it goes down. So it's not just going to be a straight transition between there and there. So that's something I have to really convey, is how important arcing is. And that's why, by the way, for all you volume obsessed people, you're losing volume, no matter how much shift and trace or whatever, because your face is not moving in the natural angle that it is. And keeping consistency is all about cheating volume, not trying to keep volume, right? We move it in arcs. So let's begin. So I'm going to determine that arc with the nose, right? So I'm just going to use these shapes, right? Triangular shapes. I'm not going to be trying to, because I'm roughing in the shapes, right? So I can see that that arc is good, right? This triangle of the nose, right? I'm going to use, put it out there like that, right? So that's all I'm thinking about is shapes, right? Then I'm going to flip between this drawing, because this drawing is the one I'm kind of coming out of, right? So I'm going to be thinking about this stuff here, right? So now within this shape, I'm kind of jumping the gun naturally talking. I'm seeing other shapes, right? I'm seeing a rectangle here, right? And then I'm cutting into that rectangle, which is about 1/3 of the way, right? 1, 2, 3, right? So all this secret construction stuff is in the mind of the real animator, which is why the basics archive is so bloody important to you people when you think about joining. Because if you can't move a simple bouncing ball and keep it on a good arc with a good timing, you're going to fail miserably when you're trying to do stuff like this. It's not going to happen. You know, you can watch other people telling you, just do, you know, and just give it like this and whatever. Of course, you know, they want you to come back. They want you to come back. Me, of course, I need people to come into my system, but I want them to leave, and leave confidently, and they have done so. So many people have joined me, and they've gone off now after completing it, gone viral on the internet. Some of them got jobs on anime stuff, and they literally haven't come back, and that's good, right? I don't need you to keep coming back, right? I just want you to be real animators and start making the craft of hand-drawn animation glorious again, right? Because quite frankly, in today's times of AI, we need it. We need some real animation, right? So I'm going to put this thing here like this, and I'm going to have the nose there. So that's one shape sorted out. Now the eye line, right? Now his eyes have got a formula. They're 1.5, right? It's like, I'm actually a standoff model because I think he's actually 2 eye widths apart, right? But I'm coming from a 3/4, so I'm kind of cheating the angle a bit. So I'm gonna make my halfway line of the eye line, so I know that that line is halfway, and I'm gonna keep that arc, what I mentioned. You see how you can draw intuitively, and you can keep form and volume. Now what I'm going to do is think about is obviously his eyes closing. I'm not going to close his eyes, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of shift his eyeballs a little bit, right? Because that's actually not the in-betweener. A good in-betweener might even miss that, right? This is the animator in me thinking about animating the soul, bringing the guy to life, right? So we're going to have a little bit of an eye shift there like that before we close his eyes, right? So now we got to do the brow. Let's talk about the brow shape, right? So the brow is going to be halfway as well. But I have to look at the width between this eye. You see, this is where we start getting starts getting complicated, right? I have to think about the width of this, right? Coming here. And then the diamond shape around the eye, right? So I've now disclosed to you, otherwise I'm going to be so slow if I keep doing it on every one. I've disclosed to you how I've identified these shapes, right? Triangle, hexagon. So now I'm just, instead of like drawing a square or whatever, like I have to go with the flow of what the shape is. And I have to keep an eye on the arc while I'm doing it. And I have to keep an eye on the arc, an eye on the shape, and make sure that it's on model, right? So hair, between hair and hair, this consistency is good, right? Between hair and hair, it's a little off. And that's why the Beast is always, even in the finished film, he's always kind of, his volumes are always all over the place, no matter how many people's had a look at it. Because that's you know, part and parcel of the character. But most people don't notice his volumes being all over the place unless they're looking for it and they want to bitch about Glenn Keane because he gets a lot of love and attention, right? So which is what a lot of these Italian and Spanish animators that I used to work with when I was in the UK used to go, oh, Glenn Keane, his volumes are crap, he can't whatever. And I'm like, what? When you can create a work as alive as him, son, then come and talk to me, because you're not selling me. Go away. I don't care how old you are, what you've worked on. I don't care if I'm a 19, 20-year-old fresh out of school working. I'm not impressed. Shut up and go and be jealous of Glenn Keane somewhere else. You know. And in this day and age, having a little bit of volume inconsistency also keeps that hand-drawn element of everything very much into play, giving it that feel. You know, you want to celebrate who you are, right? If you were of a certain culture, of a certain race, if you're all the time being ashamed of that and trying to copy another one, then that's good. Maybe that's fine if you want to do that. But as far as I'm concerned, it's like with hand-drawn animation. If you're a hand-drawn thing, celebrate the drawn aspect of it. Don't try to be a computer. Don't try to out-computer a computer. It ain't gonna happen. Right, so I have dealt with the brow shapes. Now, what I have to do is I have to come back here, so I'm going to go a bit slow here. I'm going to come back here and I have to look, right, at the fur around the brow and start building on that shape with the around this basic shape that I made, right, to get those aspects in there. Now this is a fairly easy one. We're just gonna draw the, when I mention about arcing, right, as long as the main features are arcing right the correct way, these bits sometimes, because he's squashing and stretching in his mouth a little bit, these bits are, you're just gonna have to put halfway in between and use your integrity about it. Now there's a challenge here coming from his teeth to his mouth closing, right? So I will have to think about that challenge as I am approaching it, right? So I'm going to step away here so we can see that we've got that in-betweening halfway, right? There, like that. Now, he's got his mouth open and here his mouth is closed. So what do I want to do? Do I just want to shrink his mouth? That doesn't seem like a good solution to me. So I am going to look at his bottom lip, and I don't want to do anything too I I don't want to do anything too bizarre with his bottom lip, but rather than have it pivot at this point, right? And this is what I would tell the in-betweener if he was stuck on in-betweening my animation, right? I will have to animate in there. That's why some of these scenes are given to junior animators as opposed to assistants and in-betweeners, right? So what would happen is I would probably bring his lip up, right? And have some mouth movement going on in there. And as I'm bringing this side up, I'm bringing this side down. So this side is in-betweening into it, and this side is arcing up and down to create a little bit of breathing and squash and stretch in the character's personality. So this is extremely high level. You know, a lot of people think in-betweening is a simple thing, and it is in many cases, but not for this kind of animation. It is for anime, right? But not for this kind of animation. So the thing is, what you have to, I got a comment on one of my Instagrams. People are so sweet. They're like, I hope Disney hires you. Look, I wouldn't want to work for Disney, right? I'm doing my own thing. I'm between you and me, I kind of feel above them, right? So the fact of the matter is though, thank you. I take those comments in with very good taste and appreciation that you want the best for me. But I'm not, what the real point of bringing that up is that somebody answered that comment with the statement, yes, they might be bringing hand-drawn back, but they're going to use AI for the in-betweens. And I'm here strictly outlining to those of you that want to learn animation. Now I'm going to bring his teeth up, right? I'm going to bring his teeth up a little bit. We're going to arc those teeth, right? Those of you that want to learn high-quality hand-drawn animation at its highest level, that look, maybe for simpler things, AI might be useful, right? And I'm not one of these people that are bitching on AI. You're only bitching about something when you're afraid of it, right? When you think it's going to do you harm. Otherwise, you're indifferent, or you're kind of like can see the benefits of it, right? So I'm not afraid of AI. It's got nothing to do with what I'm doing, as far as I'm concerned. It'll never be able to do what I do. So the fact of the matter is if you want to in-between and if you want to do this kind of animation, you can't leave it all to AI, right? Maybe for the super close in-betweens, but even the super close in-betweens will be like cutout rigging, right? It'll be like, you know, this place and trace kind of animation, which works for some things like anime, right? But it ain't gonna work on characters like this, because you need to feel the boiling drawing, right? No matter how much they've tried to, and it's not a simple boiling filter with the AI is not going to fix it, right? You need to feel those hand-drawn inconsistencies which actually bring this thing to life. And on top of that, the decision-making of arcs, right? How to close this mouth without it just closing and looking like it's shrinking or growing, right? So I've had to bring his teeth up to bring them down, right? But this side I'm bringing down, right? That's the arcing. Now we can see that there's a kind of jowl movement on the character which gives him a very naturalistic closure of his mouth. Now, granted, the average Joe is not going to really be looking for those things, and he's not going to really be wanting to, not really going to care, and he's going to say my audience isn't going to care. But, you know, the average Joe isn't who you are. Or if you're watching my stuff, you know, most of you are not the average Joe unless you want to be, right? You're watching this because you got a passion for creating high quality hand-drawn animated content. You wanna do things to the highest of your ability and to the best of your ability and the best of humanity's ability, because that's what this kind of animation is. So, and that average Joe mentality is exactly how hand-drawn animation fell from grace. And the slippery slope, because you'll remember that in the 90s there became this thing about video sequels. I'm just going to half this line here, and then I'm going to talk about the importance of in-betweening the brow. So the video sequels came out which weren't nearly as good quality, and of course the average Joe or the mom just wanting to keep the kids quiet didn't give a shit, right? So there the quality and the artistry and the outlet for great artists to do great things dwindled. But now in this amazing era of independence, and where we can all find whatever we're looking for on the internet, whatever floats your boat, you can find your own peer groups, your own niches, your own societies, that all, there's a place for you to belong. And there's a place for people who want to do this super high grade, high quality, hand-drawn animation. And I've created that space within the Real Animator Training Library and community. Right, so here we've got, look how that mouth is closing now, right? It's now got a feel of that it's attached to his face, and it's not just growing and shrinking as he lowers his mouth, right? So now we're going to tackle the above brow and the horns, right? So let's talk about those things. We have got, okay, if I wasn't giving instruction, I would have been well done with this frame by now. But that I'm live streaming to give you instruction, right? So I'm going to look at this frame here. Now I can see that this big shape is around there. Let's see what's happening. It's still there, right? And all of that, his brows sit inside. So I'm going to half that. I'm simply just going to half, and I'm going to look for this point of the brow here like this, and I'm going to remember my arc. Don't just do this, right? Remember, we want to arc like this, right? For the little things like the lines on the side of his face, you can get away with that, and that's what I advise you to do, because if you try and fiddle around with those things, it's going to look odd. But this is where I want to arc. Now I'm got to see the space between hair and hair. I've got to factor that in, right? So the middle point is arcing. Are you all enjoying this information, right? Is it helping you become the real deal? Because that's the intention. So let's go around here like this. And bring that in, right? There we are. Now we've got that going on. Now the horn is quite simple, really. Shapes are made up of lines, right? In order to draw this square, I had to draw this line, this line, this line. I can do this line here. I can come here and do another line here. I can come here and find the middle with another line and another line. And then I can come here and I can do 2 more lines and 2 more lines and 2 more lines and 2 more lines. And then I can use that as a guide to create a nice kind of like circle. I haven't taken my pen off the page, right? But also I can undo it with one, right? So sometimes when you're drawing these shapes, you have got to think about line, right? I've got a comment in the chat which I will look at. You can't do that on television. There are software tools such as, they are very good for assisting with in-betweens. They're very good for today's animators. You can't do that on television. They're very good for the mentality of today's. You're forgetting this. The 90s wasn't even the best, right? With the 9 old men and the 50s and the 60s and the 40s, and they were the greatest at this stuff. So for today's world of just watching simple anime with waving hair cycles, and then the Sakuga bit they think is the good animation, which is just blink and you'll miss it, cheat, and it's like flashy, it looks great, but very fucking simple to do. Today's mentality of today's animator is a little bit, regressive as far as I'm concerned. They don't really know these things. So yes, TV Paint and the assisted software can assist with certain in-betweens. You are absolutely right. But to do this kind of elite level, I mean, this stuff, I have to remember, I was a kid. I was 14, 15 when Beauty and the Beast came out. I'm almost 50 now, right? So a long time has passed. To me, this film still feels fresh and new. I call it new animation, but I'm like, oh, okay. But because ultimately, a lot of time has passed, and a lot of people have been using software like Flash and Toon Boom and all these rigging and all these 3D Maya and Lightwave and all that. What do you think's going to happen if a super fit athlete does nothing but eat burgers all day and doesn't really train and doesn't do anything and just does the bare minimum and sits there coaching people, right? He's going to lose it, he's going to forget it, and it's going to become a lost, dying art. So I'm here to remind people of the real art, the real craft, hence that R in the background, real animator training, that look, what you think is good is mediocre at best, right? A lot of you are going to be shaking your head, no, I love my anime, I love this and that. Fine, all right. But if you open the rabbit hole, it's like, what's that film, The Matrix, the red pill and the blue pill? If you open the rabbit hole and actually study animation and actually learn about the 12 laws and actually learn about the craft, you'll never unsee what you see. Which is why I used to worship Glenn Keane, and I still praise him and talk highly of him, as you heard before. But actually, after studying the 9 Old Men, I can't unsee what I've seen. I just think those Renaissance men and the Renaissance era is just good. It's not great. The old stuff. Looney Tunes is very funny, nicely drawn, but it doesn't really move so well. The old stuff, the super old stuff. And by the way, I'm just talking from an animation perspective. If you like the gags, if you like the humor, if you like the character design, you like the storytelling, the staging, there's so many other aspects to animation other than just moving the character and bringing it to life. So you can prefer classic Looney Tunes, and I can totally understand that. But from an animator, just pure craft of doing the craft of animation, bringing things to life, moving it well, moving it with a soul, so it doesn't feel... Everybody's so used to watching these popping things. They've just gotten used to that's cartoons, right? There was a time when you really believed these guys were living, breathing. Audiences of average Joes, not animation enthusiasts, would be shedding tears to stuff like this. A bunch of drawings. So I remember you speaking of some of the most advanced anime consisting of strange distortions. Are there any examples of that come to mind? Well, I mean, I can't remember saying that, but if those distortions are there, the thing that I can think of is that rotoscoped style in Kill Bill and the weird things going on in Akira. If I'm talking about distortions, I mean the good stuff, like in Akira. Okay, right, so halfway, this horn is going to go halfway. Now, I have to bear in mind the art that I talked about, because the horns are main features of the character. So if I was just going to put it in the middle like that, I'm asking for volume issues and inconsistencies, right? Which I could get away with a little move like this, but it's a bad habit, and you need to be aware, so it's better to animate properly. We're going to arc that, right? So the tip of the horn's there, the tip of the horn's there, right? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at this wave line here. That's what I'm in-betweening, right? I'm in-betweening a wavy line, right? A wavy line, and I've determined the point where it has to go on the arc. Now I'm going to look here and I'm going to think about halfway between here and here, and I'm going to come right here like that. Now that horn could look like it's growing out of its head, so I have to bear in mind that aspect, because if it is, then I have to tone the arc down slightly, right? I have to tone the arc down slightly, but I have to stay in the mentality of that arc. I do not want it robotically going like that, right? Good, right? That sits well. Now I'm going to look at the consistency of this wave shape. And notice how I'm flipping the drawing to see the consistency rather than just tracing and eyeballing it. Because if you're not seeing it, you're not getting it, right? So that's that one done, right? So now I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to think about this curved line going here. This one will be easier to arc than the other one because it's inside the silhouette, so we will not see it, the volume issues, if there are any, occurring, right? Okay, so now I want to be very careful about this, the length of this thing here, right? Yes, it's getting slightly smaller. That suits me fine. Right, so that comes here like that. Okay, so we've almost done a extreme. I remember one cleanup guy saying it took 2 hours to do one in-between drawing of the beast, right? I feel that I could in-between this a lot faster offline. Now I'm just going to throw in those ruffles there. Now the rest of this is all quite simple, right? I'm not going to be trying to be funny with really trying to get those arcs, right? I'm just going to in-between things halfway, right? Halfway, we're going to make this go halfway on this line. Everything's a halfway house, right? So that's the head, right? So you'll see that I've made a perfect drawing of the beast's head without drawing the beast's head. Do you understand? I've simply been drawing shapes and lines and looking at where they're going on an arc. And when I pull back, oh look, I've drawn the beast's head and it's on model. And it looks great. Do I consider the beast to be Mr. Keen's best work? Not necessarily. I think it's his best design. There's some great stuff in Tarzan. There's some great stuff in Treasure Planet. He also did stuff on Muppets Christmas Carol, which I'm gonna look at some of his older stuff, like Rattigan and Muppets Christmas Carol, because although it's rough around the edges, it's closer to the time when the 9 old men and his mentors were alive. So I'm probably thinking it's probably going to be better. So I'm going to go back, because if you look, I think he got progressively worse with this tangled thing. I didn't enjoy that at all. But his Ariel is outstanding. The acting of Ariel, everyone fell in love with Ariel, and it wasn't because of the drawing. It was because of the personality of the character. Right. So now this is all easy stuff. We're just going to put a line halfway between there. I'm going to edit that line a little bit as I come down here, because I'm going to just go in here and get the right curvature. Right, there we are. The collar is going to be a halfway. So we're going to come and swoop down halfway in between there like that. Right? And we're going to have this halfway. Right? So these are lines that I'm in betweening halfway, right? More so than shapes, because they're too big. And it's okay, you can build the line out of little strokes like that, right? If you feel more safer doing that. There's no right and wrong way. A lot of people damn you for chicken scratching or whatever they call it. Look, those people that complain about chicken scratching, let them try and draw and animate the beast. It's okay to do your silly little one-off illustration, pal, and think that you're a great artist. Animate the beast, keep it consistent, bring life into the character, and then we'll see if you chicken scratch or not, boy. That's what I say. So don't let those people intimidate you if you're a beginner, and stop reading forums, because if people are wasting time typing on forums, they're obviously not very successful at what they do, right? They're too busy trying to prove what they know through type, i.e. no demonstration. Keyboard warriors. So you are who you hang around with. Hang around with the elite. Listen to what the elite say, and you'll become elite. Plain and simple. Right, so here I'm just doing 2 circles, and this is why again, I say join my basics archive and learn how to move a bouncing ball properly, because if you can't move one simple shape, then good luck trying to move these shapes. It's not really going to happen. So we've got a fairly cleanish in-between of the beast. It's taken a fair bit of time because I'm giving you slow instruction while I'm doing it. I'm going to, on the next one, on the next in-between, I am going to go ahead and do something a little bit different, which will be more like animation than in-betweening. So I will be drawing fast, but hopefully you've listened and you've taken it all in, right? This live stream is not coming down, it's staying up for a little while, right? And these live streams I can't necessarily put in the library because I do not own the beast, right? So it's okay if I'm demoing for free on YouTube, but I can't really put these in the library. But what I might do is I might take them off YouTube and I might put them on my blog on my website. So if you want to see them, you have to join. Not really join the website, you don't need to join, but you'll have to visit ambanimation.com. All right, so we have got drawing 3, right? Drawing 3 here. So what's going to happen is we're going to slow into this, but I'm not going to do another in between of this, right? I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to do this one, right? Now, I need to study the movement, right? Because the arc, as I go between all these drawings, right? The arc goes down and up, right? But I'm going to change something a little bit with the timing here, right? I'm going to go from here to here. It's going to continue the up arc, right? But I'm going to go down and up like that. I'm going to go loop the loop. How are you going to go loop the loop, right? How are you going to go loop the loop? Let's see what's going on. Are you doing straight ahead, sir? No. I'm glad I saw your channel on my recommendation. I've been trying to learn animation for a month now. Well, you're in the right place, but listen, a month isn't a long time. A month is 30 days, roundabouts, and science is iffy. It's always changing, but, you know, some science you can believe in. Science says it takes 30 days just to form a habit, right? So 12 times 30 is you're just about understanding, and you've got good habits, right? So don't think a month is going to be enough to learn this kind of animation. But thank you, you're in the right place. I'm just keeping it real because this place is called Real Animator Training, and we welcome anybody who is serious about the craft of hand-drawn animation. Do you dabble in other art stuff like concept arts, illustrations, painting in your spare time? I'm a terrible painter. I say I would like to be a good painter, but if I was, I would have been one, because I've clearly got the mentality on how to be elite, but I just don't enjoy it. I do my own concept art for my own projects and things. I'm developing my own projects at the moment. You'll see a little film on my channel called Little Red. I've abandoned that project, but I painted all the backgrounds in that and did all the concept, did all the character design, did all that, right? So I've worked in the industry, if you don't know, for 20 years. I've been a head of story, I've been an animation director, I've been a storyboard artist, and I've been a project designer. I have not been an art director, but a project designer is like a production designer. I've designed the characters, I've designed the concept art, and then I work with the BG people and I work with the character designers on beefing it up and improving it and taking it beyond. So I've done it all, but I'm very honest. Like, some people would like my paintings, but people who actually paint would say this guy has got a very basic understanding. Not the kind of understanding that I have of animation, storyboarding, filmmaking, direction, character design. Those are the things I am elite at. But yes, I enjoy all those things. Thank you. So, I was saying between hair and hair, my friends, the arc just comes up like this. So I have not given my poor assistant the correct information, so I will get bad animation back. You see? This might be good for Disney sequel animation, Disney Australia, Disney Canada, Disney Japan. This what I've got here might be good if I was just to send this away and it would feel nice and fluid and everybody would think great animation. But to a real animator, I've missed the trick, right? If I was in the Hollywood studios working for, 6 figures, some 7-figure salaries, right, at the time, I would literally be saying, okay, I need to get to hair, but I'm not going to arc up like this. I'm going to do a loop-the-loop, right? So in order to do a loop-the-loop, what we do is we go up, we go down, and then we go up again, right? By the way, if you're liking this information, there's a donation link in the description. If you want to buy me a coffee, a digital coffee, by sending me a bit of money on PayPal, please do so. If only if you feel that this is of any value to you and you're actually learning something, of course. Right. So, now, what I've got to do is I've got to do an extra drawing between hair and hair. So I'm not going to be in-betweening. I'm going to switch to animator mind, right? Now this is something where I need to bring the character a little bit beyond the point, right? A little bit beyond the point, but I'm also going to be playing with squash and stretch, right? So some of the things I'm going to be doing are going to be below the point, right? I bet many of you thought, I know about that. You pop into place. That's what we silly rig animators do all the time, because that's our little cheat and we don't know how to do anything else. We'll turn our head like that. So yes, we're going up and down, but we're applying the law of squash and stretch. So if we look at his bottom lip here and we look at his mouth, his open hair, right? So I am bringing his eyes above the point, right? And I'm going to stretch them. I'm going to bring his brows above the point, right? And I'm going to stretch them. I'm going to bring his nose just about to the point, right? I'm not going to bring it above. I'm thinking about this on the fly, right? Little bit of straight ahead after I've just said I've done pose to pose, right? Because I'm adding a new key, right? But his nose is going to be a little bit below the point, right? We're going to play with squash and stretch, right? Because this guy's got a malleable features, and that's what a lot of the later 90s Disney stuff, because they were so obsessed with trying to beat DreamWorks at volume control, they lost the fucking life out of their anime does all that super tight volumes, trace and trace. Look, DreamWorks animation is great, don't get me wrong. It's extremely subtle, it's great, but it's, when they were trying to do like realistic humans and certain emotions in Prince of Egypt, but when you're trying to do this stuff, you gotta play with what the medium gives you, the squash and stretch, which will really bring this character feel alive. You'll feel the weight of the beast, you'll feel the weight of his breathing and everything. So I'm then gonna play catch up with the mouth, right? So I'm gonna put the mouth on a half, right? The lower lip I'm going to put on a half, like that. And then I'm going to have the mouth open just a little bit here, like this. The teeth I'm going to put on a half, right? This teeth I'm going to put on a half, right? The eyes are going to be stretched open. The eyepiece going to be stretched open, right? So I'm creating a drawing of the beast without even looking at the model, but just using my own, I'm looking at my own drawing of the beast. but I'm using my own to create a squash and stretch. Now this kind of squash and stretch, it's probably still in the 90s movie, because this was 91 and they were just coming out of the 80s, so they were still kind of worshipping the 9 old men. But I'm not thinking of Glenn Keane right now. I'm thinking of John Lounsbury when I'm drawing this frame. I'm thinking of I've now been immersed in his stuff, so I'm like what would Lounsbury do, right? What would I do, really? But I'm still trying to push myself by studying the 9 old men, right? And then developing my own rhythm from it. Right, so he's going to come up and then he's going to go down, right? And then we're obviously going to have to retime it for it to make sense. So now this is going to be halfway there. This is going to be halfway there. And this is going to be halfway. This is going to be halfway. So this is all kind of easy. The beard is going to be halfway, but I might do something a little bit interesting with the beard, right? Not too much. I might just have it arc out a little bit, just to push, just so it doesn't just appear stiff, right? Subtle arcing of it to the out before it comes back on itself, right? All of this section will remain on half, right? So here I'm doing all the diming in my head as an animator, what I want on a half, what I want on a third, and all that kind of stuff. Now the horns are going to have to come higher, right? This could be a challenge. This could put a complete spanner in the works of my plan, right? So if the horn is coming higher, then I need that horn already on this place here. And I'm going to kind of just like tilt it out, right? It's almost a cheat, right? It's almost a cheat of the horn. I'm deforming that horn. But it's going to only be for a few frames, so we can kind of feel the upness of the character on the top, and then have it come down again. So I'm just going to bring this horn a little bit higher here, right? So here I'm using the light box because I'm using this as my master key, which I'm going to create my new key from. Can you see the squash and stretch in that? That looks great. Can you see? Deliberate volume, but you really add to the realization of the expression change. You can already see that happening. Do you also provide mentorship for storyboarding? Presently, no. There are no one-to-one mentorship things. That will be priced adequately if there was. But I have a storyboarding archive on my training library, which is called the Professional Archive. Let me quickly bring you into the Real Animator Training Library. So if we go into the Real Animator member dashboard, if we go into the Training Library Archives, I've got this archive here called the Professional Animation Lectures Archive. So we have a couple of animation lectures in this archive, but it's more storyboarding. So the first series of lectures is called The Law of Staging, Filmmaking Fundamentals for Storyboard Artists. So you've got 7 parts. You've got, each video is around an hour to 50 minutes. You've got part 1, communicating with the audience. Part 2, editing and continuity. That's 1 hour 20 minutes. Part 3 is 1 hour 20 minutes, camera angles and shots. Part 4 is 1 hour 40 minutes, camera moves and transitions, so different. Part 5 is background sets and props, which is 1 hour and a half. Part 6 is shot composition, which is 1 hour 22 minutes. Part 7 is mood lighting, color and camera lenses, which is 1 hour. And then after going through those fundamentals, there's how to storyboard an animated intro or music video, right? And we'll be building on this archive with how to storyboard other stuff as well. So you watch me literally take you through, here they come. You watch me literally take you through the process of storyboarding an animated intro, shot by shot, adapting the script. And it's an extremely high level intro. So there are 7 parts in here, and the next lecture series, each of these videos is around an hour or an hour and a half. And the next one is and the other 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So the full intro. And somebody asked me about what do I do in my spare time? I basically create my own projects. I'm not going to play you the whole. If you go, you can see what the intro looks like. I'm not going to give away the intro because that's going to be put on a crowdfunder. But you can get an idea of what this intro looks like by just watching this video here. So the Professional Animation Lectures Archive is extremely powerful and useful for you if you are a highly experienced animator, if you have completed the basics, intermediate and advanced archives of the Real Animator Training Library, or if you are looking to start making taken some time to show you how to build a set, because it's important, because it helps you with orientation. Curved line, just making the space around it like that. If this was training library, I hope you've learned a lot. Okay, here we are. The lecture series on how to storyboard an animated intro or music video is now available in the Professional Animation Archive of the Real Animator Training Library. This 14-hour-long series is presented in 14 separate video sessions where you will watch each shot being crafted in rough sketch format with a detailed narration covering the fundamentals of storytelling, flow, continuity, and montage editing. The final layouts and key animation drawings for each shot are also presented to help you visualize the journey from rough to finished format with an animatic presentation. Have you ever dreamed about animating your own music video or a cool title sequence, but don't know where to begin? Is the thought of storyboarding or planning what's in your head a vague and misty concept? Or perhaps you know how to animate characters, but just don't really understand how to put them in environments and piece it all. Okay, enough of that. Not really going to play the sales talk to you there, but I showed you that video to show you that that's the quality of the animated intro that you watch being made, but you don't watch it being drawn. We don't waste time drawing it all beautiful. You watch the real way it's storyboarded with rough scribbles and the explanation about the adaptations of the decision making, because that's where the real learning's done, right? If you want to watch somebody doing a fancy drawing and talking you and selling you off at a course, there's plenty of people out there like that. Your animatic is too clean. Well, that's because it's going to be adapted in. I'm an independent content creator. I'm adapting it into a. It's already ready to be keyed and in between, and the layouts are already done, right? So that's another thing I talk about when I'm teaching. I'm saying the example I'm using is in this world. You look. Jobs in the industry are going down. You have to face it. Many of you are not going to find work because the AI is here, and they're looking to. Now, for me, that's a great thing because it's allowing artists to be real artists rather than I didn't waste because I learned a lot, but I pretty much wasted 20 years of my life drawing shit for other people. But you can learn the stuff I learned from me, or maybe 1 or 2 other people like me, I'm not sure. You can learn that stuff, and then you can just create your own content and become an independent artist, which is what a real artist is, basically. So you empower yourself with all those things, all those aspects, layout. That's what that priming for storyboarding series that I talked about, layout, continuity, how to turn a storyboard into a finished thing, right? So we don't cover that entirely on this. This is more about the storyboarding, but I'm glad you pointed out that my animatic is clean, because it's ready. If I want to start a crowdfunder now on this project and say, let's raise some money to adapt this animatic into an animation, I can already give it to my team. They can start in-betweening my keys and cleaning it up. Give it to so all I have to do is sort out the color keys and the mood boards. Bang. Now that's going to cost, but that's what the crowdfunder is for. Then you can do another round of crowdfunding to get the actual series made or the first pilot episode made, right? So by the way, I worked as a head of story in the UK, and I worked as a storyboard artist for longer than I did as an animator. I worked as a storyboard artist for probably about 12 years. And just to give you an example of how we used to storyboard before again, this is what real animator training is all about. I'm gonna bring up some examples. So go to ambanimation.com, sign up to the library, right? By the way, if you want to get some of those archives standalone and not in a bundle, right now the website's experiencing some issues with a payment button not showing. Just DM me and I'll send you an invoice. Let me show you how we used to storyboard how I storyboarded for Tales of Despero for Universal Pictures 20th Century Fox. Just bear with me. Okay. So these were pencil drawings. These are pencil drawings, right? Of the storyboards that I drew for Universal Pictures on paper, right? This was, this job paid me over 100K, right? You want an idea of the salary. These weren't my drawings, these ones here, but these are my drawings, right? So all of this stuff was the way we had to draw storyboards when we were hand-drawn kings, when this is what I'm trying to get, the mentality, like real artists. Everybody is buying the line of the men in the suits saying you don't need to draw it nicely, focus on the story, and all those lame-ass storyboard artists of today parroting the sign. You look at the old storyboards from Pinocchio, you look at Misaki, you look at this one of my members, Daniel Garcia, I love the guy. He got me this. You see, what a beautiful life I live, right? I have people online wanting to thank me for the things I've done. He bought my training library and he wanted to thank me for what it's done for him. And he sends me Miyazaki Tales of Earthsea because he knows I love it. I love this more than Miyazaki movies. Now the drawings of these may be unfinished in places, but these drawings, I don't know if you can see them. That's real storyboarding. There's a reason so the standard and the quality of art in animation has dropped to such a low level that most people just don't even know. They haven't got a clue, right? So this is some of the stuff that I did for Universal Pictures, right? It's why am I not able to forward and back it? Right, let's get into that. Right, crazy stuff, right? And it was scanned in and given. Here are the original panels before they were scanned in, right? They were scanned in and composited on Photoshop by a young guy who later became an art director, right? So he started as a scanner on this film. So those are just some examples. I could give you more examples, but and added to that, in 2019, I quit the animation industry because I was sick of the quality of how poor storyboarding had become. And they were wanting me to drag in models, 3D models, and draw stick men and just do camera moves and time it in an animatic. I said, fuck off industry. I'm not doing this anymore. And I willfully quit. I still get job offers on LinkedIn, but I don't take them because I don't want to be part of that cesspool, right? To me, it's not aiming high enough. It's not worthy of my standards. That's why when people go, one day Disney should hire you, I'm like, thank you very much. No, okay. No. They don't realize where I've been, what I've done. So, but in 2019, one of my friends from the industry, he basically begged me to help him out on this project. And the project sadly got abandoned, but this is how I was the head of story on this film. It was going to be screened on Netflix and Hulu. And I might do a talk about this in the professional archives because the project went to pot for some sinister reasons that I don't know, right? Money exchange or something. But here's how I storyboard when I'm in charge, right? You say my storyboards are too clean, right? I always do it like that. So this is my little bit of storyboard of a chase sequence that I did, right? So, and by the way, these characters were not finalized in the design, and they ended up using my designs for the finished designs, right? Because the character designer was not really doing the job, right? So can you see how my animation skills are really helping me with this storyboard, right? This is how I storyboard, right? So when people say your storyboards are too clean, I know that you said it to compliment me, and thank you very much. But there's a lot of people that feel very insecure in the industry, particularly in the UK, when they looked at my work. And they would say, you need to be looser, you need to draw rougher. I'll say, I'll just take it with a pinch of salt, and I'll say, look, pal, when you're half as good as me, then you can open your mouth. And that's the way to keep those people in place, quite frankly. Because I'm not one of these people that, I storyboarded for Pixar. Just watch the DVD extras and look at the bullshit storyboards that Pixar do and compare them to this. This pisses all over that, right? So, you know, and I'm not even being arrogant, right? I'm just telling it as it is. Do you or do you not agree, right? Obviously, some of you are not going to agree because they never 100%, but I think most sane people will agree, right? So here we've got this, right? So lots of interesting stuff going on here. And by the way, I even ended up rewriting some of the script, right, of this. That's why he talked me out of retirement. Well, not retirement, because I kind of quit the industry, because I don't want to be a tool. I don't want to be a human pencil drawing shit when I'm 10,000 times better than the shit that they're asking me to draw. I've had it, 20 years of that, right? I needed to develop my skills, but I kind of had it. I kind of said I had enough. So he basically said, I'm giving you carte blanche. You can even change the script. So this whole bit of the script, I did. So that's just a little taster. It kind of deviates from what I'm talking about today. But I just think that a lot of people don't really know. So when I sit here talking and making these statements about the industry, and they only know the industry from the little bubble that they've been grown up and raised in. The past 20 years have been when in a real decline of art, decline of drawing, decline of real serious ability. And that's why they look at stuff like Love, Death of Robots and thinks it's so special. Listen, that was just okay by our standards, right? Because there's a taste for anime now, so they're giving it that more kind of cinematic feel rather than illustrative feel. I mean, animation is drawing, but it's not like we couldn't do that stuff. It's very straightforward. Actually, it's mostly post-production and effects that make the finished. What's that? Mouths. Enough bean mouths. Yeah, exactly. Bean mouths. You know. And I can't get away from the fucking bean mouth. Because when I open Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, which I paid for their stupid software, what opens? A bean mouth character to show off, look what you can do. Ah, God. All right. Anyway, back to this. Right, so we are going to put squash and stretch in this character. So, believe me, if you buy my storyboard archive, you're in very good hands. You've just seen my lineage. Hand-drawn story. I used to stand with a stick and explain to the directors on a board with my drawings pinned. I used to have to pin them up. They'd say, the director's coming, get your board ready. I'd pin them up and the runner of the studio will go try and help me. He's a very sweet guy, and I'll say, no, you put that in the wrong place, just let me do it. And then I'd stand there and I'd pitch it to the directors, right? So from those days to then hiding in your house, doing your digital Toon Boom storyboarding, getting your notes, trying to be as fast as possible, I've been from there to there, right? And I've shown you the kind of storyboards that I produce. So the real thing is you know, walk the talk. That's what it is. I talk big because I am big. I've done big things. I've done special things, important things, great things, and I'm sharing those things with you. That's essentially what it is. There's too many people learning online from inexperienced children, really, comparatively by age to me, that haven't really done that. All they've done is they've tapped into a niche of digital drawing on the internet and have become, bless them, and they deserve it, have become successful for it. Let me just turn the... I actually am super impressed about that, because we all deserve success. And if they're making tons of money, more power to them, so they can carry on living their best lives. But what I'm alighting to is their audience is naive, their audience doesn't really know, and their audience is never really going to get to this kind of level, because they're following people who, quite frankly, what I'm sharing is beyond them. I'd give them, with their mentality, I'd give them a lifetime and they still would not be able to do what I'm doing unless they change and they take instruction from someone like me or someone else who has been in those positions, to kind of open their eyes before they start to teach, right? There's a reason I don't teach people how to paint, right? Because I understand and respect what a real painter does, right? And for me, a real painter is somebody who can do it off software. Now, I'm not going to do anything special with his body. I'm going to keep the body on a half, right? But this body I can do off stream, because it's just a boring line, so I'm just going to talk about the face, right? I'm just going to talk about the face. So I'm just going to put his collar in there just to give me an understanding of that. Now, before I even draw in the rest of it, right? You're going to see, as I scrub, you're going to see the timing of what that does, right? So now we've got that little kind of like surprise element, and then the look up, right? So I'm going to draw this frame in, and I'm going to show you how we draw that frame. I'm going to flip back and forth. I'm not going to use the light box. I'm going to flip back and forth. I've used enough light box, right? I'm going to flip back and forth, and I'm going to really concentrate on the drawing. Really concentrate on the changing shapes, right? This is a stretch drawing, right? His eyes are closed, so I'm gonna have his eyes. Gonna see what happens if I just for a brief minute do that to the pupils as well, right? Right, now that's very different. This is very different from using a free transform tool to stretch the character, or a pre-deformed a rig with deformers, right? Because the guy, here's the problem with rig animators that don't know how to draw, right? And most of them don't. They really don't. Because if they did, they wouldn't be doing that shit. That rig animation, right? They might say, I'm trying to pay the bills, but okay, you're in the habit of paying the bills, and then you're in the habit of pulling around a shit bean mouth thing, and you're going to lose the skill, right? So there ain't no way around it. You can't draw anymore, right? So those people that draw and animate like that, quite frankly, they're using deformers. So they don't really understand the anatomy of the face. So while it looks like I'm just like stretching it in an oval way, I'm not. I'm thinking about, and Glenn Keane is all about anatomy, right? I'm thinking about the anatomy of this character's brow. How would it stretch, right? Shall I open some of the fur pattern on it just a little bit there, right, like that. I'm gonna maybe ruffle that brow, make it a little bit smaller there, right, like that. Stretch this, right? So stretching this, I'm gonna stretch from this point, right? So when it comes back into place, it will do so in a naturalistic way. But of course the average Joe won't notice, and they're too used to looking at which is why, you know, you money men are not stupid. They've been priming you for AI by getting your eyes used to looking at shit and unnaturalistic movement and robotic movements and weird uncanny movements. They've even filtered, you know, now there was a time when to make something look cinematic meant you made it look great. Now to make something look cinematic, desaturate all the color, put this ugly green grimy filter on it, and make everything look like it's bloody done with a CG green screen background, and that's cinematic, right? That's considered cinematic. So they've completely been conditioning the moviegoers' eyes to low-grade stuff so they can mass produce everything on AI, and people will think that that's quality. People will think that that's current, that's fashion. Human beings are not particularly intelligent, which is why they fall victim to fashion and trends. I want what everybody's talking about. I want to be relevant. I want to be doing the things everyone else is doing. I want to be seen. I want to be seen to know that I'm in the know. You know, so quite frankly, we are where we are with art and animation simply because of the conditioned mindset. People actually like looking at fake things. Overly, now a drawing is fake, the beast is fake, but I think you know what I mean. Like, I think the better word is unauthentic, inauthentic things. Hans Christian Andersen wrote a great story about a nightingale being replaced by a clockwork nightingale, and the guy also wrote The Emperor's New Clothes, right? He was a very intelligent guy, and of course the things I'm saying would be offensive to somebody who doesn't really like to draw well, or somebody who's just starting to draw and who has bubble eye burst and the uncomfort, you know, the discomfort of the harsh truths that I'm spewing about that is going to get them in a defensive position. But if they're serious about drawing, they'll come round. They'll come round and they'll understand that if they want to improve, they've got to. You can't change anybody. You can only change yourself, right? That's pretty much. It's an obvious, plain, simple truth, but it took me years to actually understand it, right? Because I'm a human being too, meaning I'm stupid, right? I've been conditioned to be a victim, to defend the bad choices that I've made. I'm no different to any of you, but the awakening comes when you become aware of that. And one of the things that makes you awaken, you don't awaken to everything, but awaken to specific things. I don't claim to be awakened to everything. Is when you're passionate and driven about one particular thing, right? And I've always been passionate and driven about producing, not about being seen to be or being recognized, but producing what I believe to be the best animation possible. Again, that's a never-ending quest. What is best, it's perception. But there are certain standards, there are certain rules to be in the running for, for best when you're talking about ability and skill and knowledge of the craft. You have to have an understanding of the craft. All right, let's just do the top of his head. I won't bother with the rest. Right, let's keep the top of his head there. Let's have something like that. So then, don't hope, Silver Sun. You will make money like that, but just understand, all right, this is a bit ethereal, this talk. It's a bit woo-woo for some people, but your head, think of yourself like a tree, all right, an upside-down tree. Your head, this world around you is the soil, right? When you plant a seed in the soil, you don't see what happens, but then out shoots the tree, right? But I believe that this is the soil and the inside is what it is. So as long as you understand that you are doing those things and you are in the process, just like a computer is processing information all the time and instantaneously producing, that's what you are doing. And the only thing that screws that up is this conditioning of the mind of reacting to outward results. The reality of the situation is most of you are the real deal, but you just don't feel like it because what you see on the outside is a far cry from what you envisage on the inside. And basically, ultimately, you have to understand that the law of growth demands a certain period of time and a certain period of focus. That's like a plant growing needs the sunlight, it needs the rain, it needs all seasons, and it's got its time for it to happen. But if you give up on it, if you stop nurturing it, naturally it's not going to happen. And most of the people feel stuck because they just want things to happen and they're too busy focusing on the time. And when you focus on time, you're going to get time. And the time you get is going to be wasted time. Right. So here we can see that now that little kind of change of expression really comes up with just only 2 in-betweens. Right. Now we've got to come back up hair to hair. Right. So that's what we're going to do. Absolutely, that's my thing. Anybody who's followed me knows that I'm about mindset. I'm very much about mindset because every successful person has to understand that it's in the mental game. Hello to you, Carrots and Kinai. The mental game is extremely important. As a man thinketh, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Let me just go off on somewhere like, okay, the Egyptians had a god called Ra. The Indians had a god called Ram, right? You hear them say Ram, all right? Then you have this word Ram in your computer. And then also there has the age of the ram, right? The ram's horns, right? And the ram's horns, all right, are the side of your brain, is the hippocampus is in the side of your brain. This is called the parietal lobe, and there's a certain part in it that looks like a ram's horn, right? And Pegasus, which is the flying horse, right, who was the son of Poseidon, would go as a messenger and come back, right? Although that's to do with a horse more so than a ram. But we're talking about RAM. So is it a coincidence that inside your computer is something called RAM that they call, say, random access memory, right? And this horn, this thing that's, even if you Google it, the scientific term for it is called Ammon's horn, the Egyptian god. Again, going back to Egypt, they call it Ammon's horn, the ram's horn, right? Basically, this is what is responsible for your memory and the hippocampus, right? So why am I talking about this is basically somebody mentioned in the thing that I'm bringing up old knowledge. So you can clear this and sort it out. You know, in the Quran they say the ram's horn will be blown, right? So again, every faith you will find, you know, take the blood of a ram, right, and paint it here and paint it there, right? Every faith, every old world religion, you will find the reference to the ram, right? So I believe that all these knowledge is being told about the inside and the brain, right? And what you can do to get to what they call the kingdom, right? The kingdom of heaven, or whatever you want to call it, right? What you can do to get there is understand to take no thought, to go into your closet and take no thought, right? Because what is the memory? If you're living in a memory, you're living in the now, right? So you need to clear the RAM, and you need to recode yourself. And it's very important. That's why I built this training library, bringing it back to animation and teaching, is I understand the mind. And I understand how to effectively get better. A lot of people get great information, but they do not. They don't seem to get results. And it's because they're too busy playing around in the past. Right? I spent so much time on that, I don't just want to let it go. I'm going to take hold of that shit that I learned from that person and the crap that I done on that, because I'm valuing all the time that I wasted on that, and I don't want to. I'm going to keep wasting the rest of my life by holding on to it rather than abandoning it completely and listening to something that's actually going to get me to where I want to go, because I'm actually more in love with the time that I've wasted than the idea of actually getting to where I say I want to get. And that's most people's problems. Right, so we're gonna go up here. Now this is gonna be a straightforward arc, but again, I'm not gonna do this linear thing like this. I've got to kind of have the arc here. I've got to kind of have it come like this. So the first thing I'm gonna notice here, I'm not talking time in charts now. I'm just going to do this on a half. Actually, I'm not going to do this on a half because I'm coming out of a slow out and a slow in. I'm going to do this on thirds. So I'm going to do the second third, right? I'm going to put my diamond up here. So it's almost coming straight up here, right? Like this. And then it's going to arc back in. So my diamond is going to come up here. And I'm not thinking about the volume or anything. I'm thinking about spacing on thirds, right? I'm thinking about spacing everything on thirds, right? So this eye is not necessarily on thirds. So I've got to put the eye on thirds, right? The brow has to be on thirds. So now I've kind of explained to you about, in the previous example, I explained to you about the shapes. Now I'm explaining to you about how I rough it between when I'm not, you shouldn't really just isolate the shapes, right? you should first determine your arcs and determine the spacing, right? So anybody who's started to watch this video and hasn't remained because they don't like listening to all the babble and they think I'm taking too long, one, they shouldn't be real animators because it takes time and patience to be a real animator. Two, they're going to miss this, so they're going to go away and they're going to think, okay, I've got it, I'll just treat everything like a shape. But they're going to be isolating various separate shapes and doing that, and they'll still have severe volume issues and problems, and they'll go, it doesn't work because I couldn't be bothered to watch the video, right? So you need to kind of do a rough in between what you want. Now I'm going to actually open his mouth a little bit to put a bit of drag on there rather than keeping it closed, keeping it the same. So we're going to open that mouth. We're going to open the mouth. We're going to put a bit of the teeth a little bit more arc them more out. We're going to make his mouth feel like it's like got a jowl and weight to it. We don't want it to just be a, you know, a lame-o straight up in between. Even if the arc is correct and everything, we need to do something different with characters like this, which is again the real animator thing. Is we need to actually start really feeling the reality of this character. What would it be like to be this heavy set, you know? What would it be like to have a big, large jowls? What would it be like? So we can only imagine, right? We can only imagine. So this is going to be 1/3 of the way. This is going to be 1/3 of the way. This horn is going to arc 1/3 of the way, but it's going to be up. So that's got to be 1/3. I'm favoring too much. This has got to be 1/3 out. So I'm working on thirds. So I'm working out all the thirds first. I'm doing the hard work by working out all the thirds first before I go in trying to draw everything, right? And his color is going to be on 1/3. I might put his color on 1/2 so we've got some drag, right? We got a bit of follow through, overlap and drag in the body. So we'll put all this on 1/2 while his head's on 1/3, meaning he's leading the action with his head, right? So there we have that. Alrighty. So before I draw it, let's take a look at the timing. Do you use any techniques or mind frames to learn more effectively? Repetition. I will not, if I read a book, one, I don't have time to read, but I basically listen to the same book over and over again for half a year. And then I write summaries and memorize summaries. So for example, there's a book called The Science of Being Great, right? So I've memorized the final chapter of that. All men, and here I have, forgotten it all. Every person can become great. Okay, somebody's interested in purchasing a training library bundle. Thank you. Every person can become great. All constituents of God are the constituents of man. Man may overcome both hereditary and circumstance by exercising the inherent creative powers of the soul. If he is to become great, the soul must act, and it must rule the mind and the body. Man's knowledge is limited, and he falls into error through ignorance. He can avoid this by connecting his soul to universal spirit. Universal spirit is the one intelligent substance from which all things come. It is in and through all things. All things are known to this universal mind, and man may so unite himself with it as to enter into all knowledge. To do this, he must cast out from himself. I can keep going and keep going and keep going, but the problem is just memorizing it isn't good enough. So I'm mentioning soul and I'm mentioning all that. Listen, soul, solaris is the word for sun. People worship the sun. There's an inner light in every man which continuously impels into the highest. So you can't just think of, oh, I don't believe in this or I don't believe in that. You have to truly understand that it's a philosophy. And listen, it's not it. That book might not really be the book for you, right? So I can recommend you books, But the book that I recommend you, before I recommend you a kind of esoteric book like that, is Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. It basically is a great book on talking about why the human fucks up and why they don't never get any better results than they get. You know, there are many books. There are some modern books that are fun. I don't really like it. The simple art of not giving a fuck, right? I recommend that to a lot of my students, even though I've only read it once and I don't really enjoy it. I understand that it'll connect with a young audience a bit better, right? So if we look at this, right, we can now see that timing is, even without the in-betweens, that timing, we notice that the loop, right? That sudden little break up there, realization, and when we in-between it, it's going to have all of the bells and whistles that it needs. No, we have a Facebook group, all right? We have a global Facebook community. Real Animator Training does not give any kind of feedback because it's priced that way, right? People want feedback. They can pay Don Bluth $10,000 and just have a little bit of tiny feedback on a video and then meet him once at the end of the year, right? And he charges $10,000, right? So I'm charging for the price of an iPad Pro or a mid-range laptop. Something's got to give. But what I do have on Facebook is this community. And sometimes I live stream and I look at the work in here. You can see Cameron. Cameron's in the chat. Cameron's got software. Cameron can draw on software, but he's choosing to do his animation on paper, which is fantastic. So he's working through my advanced archive at the moment, and he's doing this advanced dog cycle from the advanced archive. You can see the anatomy, so you can tell who's not been in the training library, okay, to who is, like Cameron studying Logan studying the intermediate archive, the layouts, Cameron studying more anatomy, Kevin Silver's trying to do a turnaround, we've got somebody studying the flower sac. So a lot of training library members are in here, but a lot of non-members are in here as well. We have got altogether 4,000 members in here, but we got some really good people in here who have gone viral on the internet, like Life Fantasy and Travis. So you can reach out to them and talk to them in this peer group. You get access to everybody, our other members, and you kind of solve each other's problems, and I chime in when there's time. So that's what we have on Facebook. Listen, I don't know about that, Ren. People are creating what they want to create for many reasons. So why they're real world based or this and that is, listen, I can't get into the mind of what they want to create. It doesn't interest me. I'm like one of the reasons Don Bluth said he left Disney wasn't that he was frustrated with Disney, was because they weren't making the kind of films he wanted to see. So he wanted to make them. And that's a great reason. That's one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm building, I wouldn't say an army, but I can't find a better word. Make love, not war, right? But I'm building an army of people with the skills that I can one day hire my own people, right? Who have trained from my archive, because who's going to know more about hand-drawn animation than the people who have studied under me, especially who are working for me, right? There are Disney animators, good Disney animators, that I wouldn't even hire to work on my thing. Not because they're not good animators, but because they don't understand my mindset, right? They don't understand the way I approach things. They're habitually conditioned to do things a certain way. Like they time with a lot of unnecessary, unnatural drifts on the slowing in on twos unnaturally for like half a second or 10 frames, and it just creates this the 9 Old Men never did that, right? So the thing is, getting back to that, I don't know why I'm creating what I want to create. I want to tell the stories I want to tell, right? So here you'll see as I'm doing this frame, now I've mapped out everything. I'm not using the light box to actually draw. Do you understand? Right? I'm basically creating, flipping forwards and backwards and eyeballing. And this also trains my hand-eye coordination, right? So my hand-eye coordination is see, this nose is a little bit small. See, I have to go silent a little bit, right? My hand-eye coordination is a little bit is what it's all about. So that when you're drawing in a museum or you're drawing in a zoo or you're trying to capture things that are moving too fast in the real world and not the comfort of your own studio, you can immediately make the line you want to make by just quickly looking at what you're looking at and looking back and then making a line, right? So this skill develops your drawing ability. And of course, I wouldn't be doing this kind of what they call chicken scratch or whatever in that situation, because you don't have the time to make little careful strokes. The reason I'm doing this is to maintain volume. But when you're sketching in a sketch pad outside, you're not worried about maintaining volume. You just want to capture the what it is your brain's seeing, right? And you can totally train yourself to do that. And this has helped a lot in that regard. So you can see, like, as I've got this kind of map of what I'm drawing, I'm getting the volumes pretty exact without the light box. So this is proof that the light box is not to be used by good or even mediocre animators. If you are using it as a crutch, it is a bad habit. Cease and desist now, otherwise suffer the consequences of being a bad animator for the rest of your days, right? The light box has its place, but you are watching live that I've used the light box to determine the space, the thirds, and the arcs, but I'm not using the light box to draw the character, right? And this is an extremely complicated character with so many different shapes to manage, right? But I am not using the light box, right? So when you're working at home in the comfort of your own rules and just binge watching free YouTube videos, you have not made much of a commitment to anything. So you are already probably not very good at holding yourself accountable. Now, if you are going to go out and train with people physically, they can hold you accountable. But another problem arises. Who is good enough to really do that, right? You can go to your local art school or your college and have some hack who's going to show you what they know. And you can learn something from everybody, that's true. But I mean, I'm using quite strong words because, you know, a lot of you are frustrated and you've wasted enough time. So we need to cut to the chase. So if you put down a commitment, and that's why I like to charge for the training library, but I like to charge so that the people who are kind of like wasters will think it's too costly and go, I'm not paying for that even though I claim I want to draw. And then if you add up all the money they've spent on gaming and Nike trainers and cinema tickets and then beer and, you know, movies, then you realize they had more than enough anyway, right? But somebody else puts in about that much money, which is the price of an iPad Pro or a decent gaming laptop, not a entry level one. You put down that, then you think, right, I'm committed to something while I'm sitting here in the comfort of my house. I've done this, and I can either just let it all go to waste, or I can hold myself accountable for that one reason, right? And then that one reason holds you accountable. But what happens is you get, the more involved you get, you start not needing a reason to hold yourself accountable, because you start seeing, as I say, you watch in wonder as the work unfolding before you is at the command of your own hands, right? You say, wow, I can really feel the difference. I can really see the change in what's happening in my work when I'm drawing. And that then becomes your motivation, right? My thing, AMB, is my name, Urshad Mirza Beg, but it's also animation, motivation, and belief. So that becomes the motivation to, you become your own motivation. You no longer need a reason. And you start developing the understanding of what is good animation, what is bad animation, and you start holding yourself accountable by your own standards, which have automatically been raised by the peer group that you have entered into when you've joined the elite level system that is the Real Animator Training Library. Right, so I've more or less roughed out that, and his mouth opens and he's there like that. I'm going to do the horns and the ears. 150, not doing too bad for time. Hello to everybody. Let's see if there's any. Hervonia Baker. That's okay, Hervonia. The lovely Hervonia Baker is here. I recommended drawing with a mouse a few years ago. I was quite good at it. Wasting time. Even if you get good at it, it's like spinning plates, right? It's like spinning plates. Pick up a pencil and paper from the $2 shop and you'll enhance your abilities. That is, unless your goal is, of course, to draw with a mouse, okay? If that's your goal, to be good at drawing with a mouse, just like it's somebody's goal to be good at spinning plates, who am I to tell you that you're wasting your time? But to somebody who actually wants to really get good at drawing animation, pick up a sketchbook, $2. Actually, drawing on physical media will help you get better a lot faster than working digitally. Digitally becomes faster when you have the nuances, when you understand how to do things, right? Notice I don't waste time with creating layers. Notice I don't free transform my drawings often. Notice that I draw everything on the same layer, and I don't use any weird brushes and try and get thick and thin lines. That type of drawing is easy to do, right? Anybody can weight a line, right? It's not a hard thing to do, right? So do that with the physical media, and you will see that your abilities to draw digitally will be vastly improved. It's all habitual conditioning, right? Habitual conditioning. If a fit person takes up a new sport, their ability to do that sport will be better than an unfit person, and they will see results faster. So you need to become fit at drawing, right? And one of the easiest ways, you can do it digitally, right? If you have the right mindset, right? And you don't rely on the tools, and you just treat it like a digital piece of paper. But if you, the faster way is to just abandon digital media and draw and learn with physical media. So you don't keep pressing undo, you don't get too fussy, you've made your mark, you made your bed. Draw with a pen, not a pencil. You've made your mark, you have to lie in it, right? Go through as much of it as possible. It's like a baby, it's like a child learning to walk. Fall over, get up, do it again, right? Okay, so here we are. We've got like the change in expression and the rise up. So now we're going to do the in-between of this turn into this, right? So, again, I'm going to think on thirds. I'm maybe not going to be able to in-between do all the breakdowns on this live stream because we've done a lot of other talking. But I may do two. Might do two more. I might just do two more. Like I might just do the head turn, and then we'll do the rest off stream. So I'm now going to go between hair and hair. So again here, the schoolboy would say, oh, I've got to in between this complex character, let me work out the shapes and let me just draw it in without really thinking about the arc or the arc of motion. The in-betweener, unless told, he might come up with a good arc. He might say, okay, I will put it on thirds, so I'll do this, right? And he might do that. But again, I don't want to do that. I want to show the excitement in his face, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm creating a third. I'm creating a favor, right? A favor is when you don't, like you got half hair, you got thirds hair, and a favor is when you're super close, right? So I'm being super close to one of these drawings, right? That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be super close and I'm going to play super squash and stretch, right? Just like we did before, I'm going to bring his features up. So I'm going to arc like this, right? I'm going to arc like this. So I'm going up, right? I'm going up with the character. And as I go up, his horns are going to come up just a little bit. So again, I'm mapping it out with I don't want his horn telescoping here, right? So we got to really kind of like, I'm going to bring his ears up to get his ears excited. Right. I'm going to really play with the squash and stretch of his smile, right? I'm going to push this character without even looking at the model to see what I can do with it, right? Maybe way, way off model, but I don't care. I'm just going to really kind of really play with this. Push the squash and stretch. Right, well that means the beard is going to come forward a little bit here like this. Cheeks are going to come out like that. It's going to come up. I'm going to bust his chest out a little bit, right? So we're going to slow into this. I'm going to bust his chest out. So this is going to come up. Everything is going to come slightly up. Like that. This is going to come up and out. This is going to be on the same thing like this. And we're going to bring this out here like that. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this up. So again, you see me rough out what I want, and I can test the movement out. So we can see the squash and stretch happening in the turn to again make the character feel alive. I think that learning to be patient and not giving up after minor setbacks is crucial at the beginning. Absolutely. As I said, it takes 30 days to, that's why it takes 30 days to form a habit and 30 days to consolidate a habit and another 30 days to see it through. This is why, 10 is a man-made number and all beliefs had 1 to 9 as the number, 9 being the number of completion, 666 the number of the beast, meaning man is a beast, he's got to slaughter the beast to come ahead up. So it's not, 6 plus 6 is 12, 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 6 is 9, right? Nikola Tesla used to say the magic of 369, all right? So ultimately, 30, 30, 30 is 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9, right? So that's when you develop a habit, consolidate a habit, and fix the habit in 3 months is around about the right time. That's my belief. Okay, you don't have to agree with me on that, but that's my personal understanding. Hello to you, Daydream Dragon. Okay, so here we have, now we can really see how more alive this animation's feeling with that squash and stretch key, even though I haven't drawn it in, right? For the head turn, right? Got this hair, this hair. So we're going to throw that in. You see how easy it is for me to animate? I always tell people that when I back up my words. So people come on my streams and they think when I say, oh, the Renaissance was good, it was great, and I respect those guys, but the 9 Old Men was the real stuff. Well, I'm showing you here while talking live, I'm animating one of the best Renaissance characters without even sweating, talking, bringing it to life, putting it high level stuff, all live while answering your questions and not even thinking, right? Don't think, feel. It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Right, so I'm going to have the light box on for the favor, right? So what I said before still applies, but I still need to just kind of see underneath because I'm hardly moving the character, right? So now I'm going to be really changing this expression, right? So we're going to change this expression like this, right? And I'm going to smile. So we're really going to play squash and stretch here. Really have fun with the character. Too many people would be afraid to play squash and stretch with a character like this, even working on Disney sequels, because of their inability to draw beyond simply drawing accurate copy on model, right? And they don't understand timing. They're average draftsmen, right? But again, the average Joes will just see, oh, that looks like the beast, isn't it good, right? But the real animator will say, where's the squash and stretch? All right? You've drawn and animated the beast. It's not hard. I've showed you on my streams to just simply look at some images and copy the pose from the model sheet and create your own head turn out of it if you know a little bit about drawing and animation, right? Nothing special, right? What's special about real animation is having the ability to be in command, in control, making it yours, right? I'm done with looking at the model, right? It didn't even take me that long, just a 2-hour, 3-hour live stream looking at the model, right? I'm done with looking at the model. I can now animate to the level of the movie while talking to you guys about all kinds of things, hanging out with you guys just from 2-3 hours of looking at the model. Now I can play with it as if it's my own, right? I can take charge, become the captain of your soul, the master of your destiny. This, I would say, is the one thing that real animator training offers in opposition to many of my good alternatives. Is because I'm so... You can't take the whole mindset, personal development, personal growth thing out of me. It's me. That's my personality. I was a martial arts instructor before I became before I taught animation, right? In my early 20s, I used to teach martial arts. And I've always been into personal growth. And it all happened, you know, when I broke a brick for the first time with my bare hands. It was something that I thought, it's actually a very easy kind of party trick when you know how. But at the time, it was something that I thought was impossible. And I would watch it in movies and watch it in things and think, can people really do that? And they can really do that. And as I said, it's not as hard as you think it is, right? I mean, it does take some ability of some sort, like animation. When I did that, I got into this whole overcoming of the mind. And that's what the martial arts gave me. And I got interested in philosophy. So I have infused this into my animation training. Because I understand that even if you're learning the right things, you're not necessarily going to get the right results. Or the results that you want. Unless you sort your mind out. Which is why I always say to people that, like, I always use the example, I'm not going to draw it at the moment, like, don't think that just by buying my library that you know it's going to do something for you, but don't think that you don't have to do anything and that you're just going to listen to me, right? I have given you the fastest, most powerful vehicle. I've given you the treasure map to the goal. But there's one thing I cannot give you, and that's the fuel for your vehicle. And the fuel for your vehicle is your attitude. Your attitude. How are you a quitter? Are you the kind of person who basically is too busy defending where you are rather than going towards where you say you want to go? Are you unwilling to, you know, not just abandon certain things that have worked for you before, but those certain things may be holding you back, right? Are you willing and able to let go or examine some of the things that you thought were factual truths that are actually the root cause of the reason why you can't draw and animate? Because that like, many people come to me and say, I'm thinking of joining your program, do I need to be able to draw? I said, listen, a lot of people who join my program think that they can draw, right? But their kind of drawing is only going to hold them back. Their kind of idea of what they think and they can draw is only holding them back. One, they're very confused about what they think they can draw and what they don't think they can draw, right? And that pains, that hurts, I understand. Nobody likes to be told these things. I'm not trying to run people down, but just look at the screen and just look at what I'm doing and understand that this is a super elite level guy is sharing some wisdom with you, right? As I said, you can either defend where you are, right? So most of those people, they've got into their own little mojo with their drawing and they just don't know any better. And that little mojo that they've got is like a prison, and it stops them from learning new things. Just a simple thing like, I don't want to draw and animate a swinging pendulum. I don't want to draw and animate a bouncing ball. I'm too good for that. I'm too good for that. I've had a guy who's worked for Disney Canada and a guy who's worked for Nickelodeon and on Ninja Turtles sign up to my training, and they haven't bought any other thing. You know what they bought? Was the one archive, the basics archive, with the swinging pendulum and the bouncing ball. So they clearly, even after working on those projects, don't believe they're too good to draw and animate a bouncing ball and a swinging pendulum. But many of these YouTube freebies who just want to binge watch 20-somethings drawing fan art, because they think those people can draw and they want to draw like them. Quite frankly, in all fairness, my system is not for them. My system is not for them, and one day they'll give in to AI, because AI will do it better than what they've ever done. So, but a lot of people come to my system, and I kind of like to say, don't waste your money. Don't waste your money. You gotta understand that if this is gonna work for you, you gotta understand where you are first and what you need to learn. You need to ask yourself some serious questions. Thank you so much. Do you like the animation in Fox and the Hound? Yes, I do. A lot of people have a go at the animation in Fox and the Hound. It's better than Love, Death and Robots. All right. So I hopefully you liked my answer, Grayson. So here we can see that going on there, like the smile is there like that. And of course, when I'm talking about animation, I'm not talking about the filmmaking side, the layout side. I'm just talking about the character animation, right? There's plenty in Love, Death and Robots that's a little bit more advanced than what's in Fox and the Hound. But if we're talking character animation, no, right? It looks like I love Ghost in the Shell for the reason people like Love, Death and Robots. It's amazing. It looks like a Blade Runner, like a style inspired 2D cartoon, which I love watching, but the characters all move like, you know, I mean, maybe one could say, do androids dream they're androids, but it's just dead. It's just dead stiff movement. All right, so now I'm going to get from hair to hair, and then we'll call it a day, right? So we're gonna, I love that little smile in there. You see the difference that little smile makes before he turns? It really adds to the personality. So now we are going to turn on this, so that this is not going to be one of those going beyond the ones. We've already gone beyond. We need to balance it, right? We've gone beyond hair and settled down. We've gone beyond hair and settled down. Now we're going beyond hair to turn. So we're not going to do it in that poppy kind of animation that I always make fun of. Here I'm going to slow into this turn, right? This pose would have been so much better if his hand was up here like this, right? But I'm lazy now. This animation is just for demo purposes on YouTube. I can't even sell this stuff, so I'm not going to put more. I'm not going to put more into it, right? So basically, we're going to. But I pointed out the weakness, right? If I was Glenn Keane, I'd be looking at this and say, this pose is weak. You need to do something. Maybe have him suggest that he's in it, and then realize, no. Oh, bloody hell, I've talked myself into doing it now. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I need to just get on with it. I need to get on with it. But it is weak now. It is weak. You see, got to keep it real. As you're working, you've got to keep asking questions when you animate. So here I'm going to put this on a third, and I'm going to do I'm going to put it on a half, actually, because we've exited on a favor. And I'm going to slow in. I'm going to do a simple half chart slow in here. So this is going to kind of be a arc like this, right? Now this one drawing could potentially challenge me without having the model, right? There I was shooting my mouth off, but it's his head from another angle, and I don't have the model. So if I really wanted to draw this, I would have to refer to the model, right? So we're gonna have this arc is this way, right? So this thing has to be like this. So I'm determining the spacing first, but I'm gonna try and draw the head without the model. And by the way, looking at the model is not, there's not anything wrong with it, right? You got to study from reference, right? But the reason why I'm talking about, I'm not even using the model, is this is a demonstration of what the power of the secret science of shape simplification and the Real Animator training system will give you if you study the right things, right? Complete freedom and independence to be able to draw whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want. But that doesn't mean you should not look at reference, right? Because work from reference is always stronger. It's always stronger because you are building on an idea. You're building on an idea and you're making investigations and studies rather than just jumping on the first thing that comes into your head. So I'm a big advocate for reference. Here you see I made reference when I was starting this. I studied a couple of images of the beast from Google image search when I made my keys. Now I've made my keys and I can go ahead and draw and animate him, right? So here I'm going to keep his mouth closed, right, like this. So that's pretty much what that is. The beard is going to be hair on a half. His head is going to be hair. His ear is going to be hair. His other ear is going to be hair like this. Okay, not bad. It feels like it's doing the right thing. Let's have a look at that. Mute Midori Animations. My friend, good to have her online. You're doing the right thing studying bones. So here we can see the nice timing of that head turn is working very nicely. He looks there and he turns there, right? So, but I need to figure out this. So I'm going to look at these 3/4 images. You know what? I don't really have anything that's going to help me, so I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to go and try and do this. And I'm not going to look. I may look later on to improve it, but right now I'm not going to look, right? So I'm going to study between hair and hair, because although we're favoring this angle, we want it to be a little bit more of what we call a front 3/4, right? So you're going to see me scribble a bit more with this, right? So we're going to see more of this nose, like this. We're going to have... Look at the science of shape simplification. Everything I explained to you at the beginning is pretty much what we're seeing. In action now. Now he's got his mouth closed. I'll worry about the mouth later. I'm going to do something like this. Let's look at these mouths. Let's keep it within there. I'll look at the mouth later. What I'm going to do for the mouth is I'm going to get this frame here. Right. And I'm going to paste it right there. I'm going to bring it down in size so I can see my own drawing. Right. That's enough for me, right? That's the mouth that I want. So that's going to be like that. So now the eyes, I'm going to keep the eyes closed. There we are. If any of you have got any other questions, I'll look at the chat to see if I can answer a question while I'm making this drawing and working this out. But what you will observe me doing, right, is the science of shape simplification. this, and it's like this with this space here like that. This is where we lost a bit of volume on the side of the head there, like that. Bring it in. He's a little bit on the bigger side, so I'm going to bring that down just a little bit. You see me using that because I'm saving time, because I know what I'm doing, right? And that's where the danger lies, is most people think they know what they're doing and they use those time-saving tactics of software, and they are not developing those habits that I was telling you that you need to develop. So if you're not competent enough, then do not use the shortcut. Do not use the thing that is, because you're not able to do it without, right? Oh yeah, I can do that, people say, and not an ounce of the work that they demonstrate shows that they can. Extra scribbly on this one because this is still the head's a bit too big, but I can fix that later. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with what I got. I can't just simply copy this frame here. I've got to have it sit with the head dip. And then after making this drawing, I have to go and flip with the previous drawing and fix it. So I'm going to make another tie down of this drawing on top of this. I'm being extra rough and extra loose, right? Because there's a bigger change happening. You got this bump in his head. This I need to look at. We're gonna put it's coming around here like this. A little bit of concentration goes on, so I silence myself. Once I've done this rough thing, I will then look at the chat and proceed to answer anything anybody said of interest while I tidy it a little, right? Just a little. Let's look at the horn there. We're going to look at that horn. So we're going to have that. We're going to have that. We're going to have that. That's how it's going to be. We're going to have that. Why not flop it and trace it? Why not flop it and trace it and flip it? That's all he's doing. The mentality of those rig animators that don't know how to draw. I'm saving time. I'm trying to train my left-right brain so I become a better draftsman. And then on top of that, I can throw in squash and stretch and nuances that flopping the drawing simply would not do. Right? Alright, I'm done looking at that. That has served me enough. I need to pull this drawing into place. So this front view, I need to look at this and this now. This is going to be like this, right? This is gonna come down. The spacing on this thing has to change. This is more like this. See how messy I get when I'm solving problems? That's where the problem lies. There. We need more space here to even out the drawing. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. The one time I bother about his robe. Alright. Not bad. Needs a bit of pulling into place. A little bit fat in the face there. A little bit fat. We'll knock it into place. But we can see how this is all starting to go. Right, so I will read the chat while I tidy this up. Bison. M. Bison. Or a real bison, which is what it is. Thank you, Nathaniel. Is there a big difference between head turning with movement of the arms or arms at your side? Depends. I mean, what the big difference is what we like to do in animation is the weight shift of the clavicle. Like, you can turn your head. If you're dealing with a more feminine character, you can put your shoulder up, you know, and play with the hip line contrasting the headline. Drop the shoulders, do whatever. But if your hand's up, those things are still going to apply, but it's going to affect the hand and affect the silhouette. So there is a huge difference, right? You need to anticipate the hand if he's going to bring his hand up. So this whole shoulder would change, right? So huge difference. Let's just make that this color while we consolidate the drawing now. When should you warp anatomy to exaggerate certain movements? All the time, but you need to know what you're doing with the anatomy. You need to be strong enough. What's the best way to weigh shape of characters? I don't quite understand, Nathaniel. Yes, Nathaniel. I didn't get to stream what I wanted to stream. Absolutely, Ronald. Traditional paper is the best. Nothing beats paper. If I had the capital and the money to employ people to scan my drawings and tidy it up, I would make my first project on paper, hand-drawn project on paper. But sadly, something's got to give when you're dealing with capital. Right, so I'm going to tidy this up by referring. So mostly I referred to this one, but now I'm going to refer to this one to bring it all together, right? The drawings have to be relatable. The drawings have to relate, right? That's what we need. Now you can see I can really, like, this is the last one I'm doing, and it's good because I'm kind of tying it down a little bit. You can see how I'm able to get the volume, to get the consistency. Out of the character, right? And it's actually, when I'm working in silence, you can also see that it's a lot faster process. It doesn't actually take that long to draw this stuff in a tie-down phase. Right, so his cheek is Gonna be like that. His foremouth is there. So this is where we fatten the head, so we're gonna bring it a little bit thinner there. We're gonna keep his eyebrows to this one's feel. So you can see how I'm redrawing it, and I'm redrawing on the same layer, right? As if it was a piece of paper and I dabbed it back with a putty eraser, right? I do not waste time by holding on and preserving my previous layer. Unless you're doing a professional project and you're saving time and you need that layer because if any problem happens you can go back to it. But if you are drawing and animating I don't know if I'll put that tooth above his nose. If you are drawing and animating for yourself, right? You need to have confidence about your own abilities. So you need to let go of your preciousness and understand, again, this is a mindset thing, and understand that the drawings that you are making have been made by you, and you're perfectly capable of making them again. It wasn't a fluke, right? The way the old animators, the 9 old men, used to train people, so I've heard from people who have been trained by them, they would give them their own roughs, right? And they will say, draw the in-between of the character on top. And the person learning was so afraid of drawing over the 9 old man's drawing, original rough, but they had to, right? Because they were thinking, well, I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to screw it up. But they're screwed up in the mind. And admittedly, I would have felt the same thing. And arguably, if Milk Carl was to resurrect himself and give me one of his roughs and say, draw on top of that, I would probably still shit my pants. So the thing is, it's good for your own ability to learn how to trust yourself more. And that's essentially what my training system is designed to do. It's designed to train you while you're drawing and animating, to take you on a journey with me, but ultimately with yourself. And you have got to learn how to trust yourself, right? You got to understand your own worth, your own self-ability. Ultimately, it's what I always say in the chat, you know, if you feel you're the real deal, type it in the chat. I'm the real deal. You have to learn how to have absolute faith in yourself. Does that mean that you're going to get things right all the time? No. But nobody ever does. And that's not a big secret, right? But for some reason, we're very hard on ourselves and we never forgive ourselves, right? How does it? I memorized a poem once. Let's see that I can still remember it. Forgive yourself for yesterday. No, I don't. It was about forgiveness. It was a very good poem. I'll get it. I'll remember it sometime. That slight misdeed of yesterday, why should it mar today? That thing he said, that thing you did, it's long since passed away. For yesterday was but a trial, and today you shall succeed. And you'll beat yourself from all the yesterdays and the misdeeds. I don't know. I'll have to go back to it. It's a very good poem. Memorize these things, so whenever I'm in a bad mood, my subconscious has got them there, and they'll just float around in my head, other than all of the crap things, all of the doubt, the worry, the fear. That's why I always end my live streams telling you to do your work, not just your work and no more. That's not mine. That's memorized from a guy called Dean Briggs, called Do Your Work. And it really does. I can actually see the beast on model here. He's looking like when he's transforming, that angle of his head. And there's all the wind cycle on his head. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Another effortless. A little bit of effort, but I mean, come on, I'm on a live stream. Talking away. And the real philosophical question is are you guys really here? You know, or are you in my mind? And is this some weird personal self-confidence trip? Right? I love it. I love the mind. Right? So it turns like this. So here we've got a much more tied down version of these of the in-between that you can see. That's almost ready to go. Right? So he's here, he looks, we need to time all this. So this is 11 frames, right? To get from here to here is 11 frames. To get from here to here will be another maybe 16 frames with a 4-frame hold to make it 20. 20 plus 11 is 21. So maybe 18 frames with a 4-frame hold. And so we got 12 plus 12 is 24. Then we come up here, so that's the timing. Then we'll come up here on, maybe that'll be 10 frames, 8 frames. But then we'll settle in and slow in to make that another half a second. And then we'll hold on that for 4 frames, right? No, we won't hold on that. That's an in-between. So here we'll come up here and we'll settle into this for half a second. And then we'll spend another half a second on just a smile. So 12 frames here. Then we'll come out of that quick, right? And this will be about 6 to 8 frames this turn. And then we'll slow in with another 8 frames. Hold for about 6 frames. Blink, this will be about 8 frames. And then we'll drop into this with just 1 in between. And then we'll slow into this frame for maybe... maybe 12 to 14 frames, and then we'll hold for the 6 afterwards, right? So that's where we'll have, that's how I'll time this thing, right? But that's it. You can see that today I've not looked at any reference. Good Daydream Dragon, you're the real deal. Yes, you're the real deal. Awesome. Sneak, awesome. Griziak, awesome. Nintendude, awesome. Nathaniel, awesome. I'm the real deal. Faith in yours. Thank you, Nathaniel. That's beautiful that you are putting importance on me. But just think about who is deeming me important. You are. You're the judge. You're the real deal. You're the importance of the importance of the importance, right? Have faith in that. That's what's going to help you overcome obstacles, which are the way, according to Marcus Aurelius and his philosophy of Stoicism. Shouldn't have transformed. He looked hot. Oh my God! I am so excited, Gracie Goodbear fans. You may be getting to see more of Gracie. I uploaded a video of Gracie Goodbear and it has absolutely gone wild on social media. People are loving Gracie Goodbear and a lot of people are hating her. People who are afraid of a certain depiction of females which they think should have been buried in the past, but hey, I was raised on that, and I like that, and I'm going to do that, and I make no apologies of it. If they're afraid, they're afraid. Their comments of complaining on my videos are they're the loud minority, because the statistics show that most people absolutely love Gracie Goodbear, and the only people who don't are the sort of like less than 0.5%, less than 0.1% who make themselves very vocal in the comments. So it's got 3K likes, you know, and Gracie's getting a lot of love and attention, and also the haters, they're doing her a favor because they're upping her in the algorithm. So I am excited about Gracie Goodbear is also flying around, and I'm excited about that because that means more Gracie Goodbear, and possibly I could do a Gracie Goodbear. I might do a small, quick test crowdfunder before I crowdfund my main project, and check out a Gracie Goodbear small project to get a 10-minute short of Gracie Goodbear made. There's a lot of people, especially on Twitter, who love Gracie Goodbear, and Facebook, which is a surprise because most of my love comes from YouTube, not on any of those platforms. So what's this saying to Mute Midori and Hervonia? Their comments are not in the chat. Where? I've been doing bone studies, and what has Hervonia said? Hervonia is late, so I don't know what Kevin's talking about. But something or the other. So that's it. So we may be seeing some more stuff of Gracie Goodbear, which makes me happy because I actually really like drawing Gracie Goodbear. And many people, my haters, are going to say, of course you do, and try and make me feel guilty for those reasons. And I say, thank you. I'm not going to feel guilty for being me. And they claim to speak up for people who want to be themselves. That is great to know you want to continue your Gracie Goodbear animation. I was saying Hervonia Baker is the real deal. Yes, she is. Mute Midori saw something interesting today. Okay. All right, so that's it. Very quickly, if you're serious about taking your animation to a higher level, then go to ambanimation.com. Why is that happening? I have no idea. It's probably something to do with the browser cache, because I've been updating the site. There we are. So go to ambanimation.com. By the way, we got a new reel here. I haven't uploaded it. Let me preview the new AMB reel. Here, you'll like this. You'll see Gracie Goodbear in this.
Ben Aziz. I remember you well. Your death now seems a convention of such an existence. Neither blade, nor tooth, nor your uncommitted claws could hold you to living. Speak then, my brother. Tell me, how does eternal contemplation torture a twisted soul?
So that is the new AMB reel. And the thing about this is every single one of those clips that you saw were animated only by me, with the exception of the tiger, which had people cleaning it up, which they cleaned it up. And I basically did that. They were my students and I wanted to hire them. I could have done that myself. I gave them it virtually clean anyway. So all of that has not only been done by me, but it's all been done live. This badger, you saw the series of live streams live. Everything has been documented online over the past few years. Since, like, I think the earliest one of those was like 2018, but most of that was since 2020, the little red thing. So all of those have been done only by me, nobody else, in front of your own eyes. If you watch my YouTube channel, you can see way back the older live streams. Some of them are still up, a lot of them have gone. You can watch the documenting process of all of this. So it's very, very real. And you've also seen not just growth in the library members, but growth in me. So I have demonstrated through my own example of what is capable. For example, there's a guy, everybody likes to draw the comparison, and they ask me, you charge more than Aaron Blaze. Why don't I just go to Aaron Blaze? Go to Aaron Blaze. See what it does for you. I've got a lot of respect for him, but there's a difference. I've worked on Hollywood movies, and I've worked on... I've been a director on TV shows. I've been a head of story on movies, and but I've never been an animator during the Renaissance period for the Walt Disney Pictures. Never done it. Never got into that. Never had that. Never worked with all those top people. Aaron was personally trained by Glenn Keane, right? So a lot of people are going to be going on that, but none of them are ever going to know what it's like to never be in that environment, right? Because at the end of the day, they're doing something, they're learning from somebody who just has come step from that environment. I'm here basically cacking out effortlessly the same high-level Renaissance animation while talking to you on a stream, but I never had that training. I was trained by a Disney animator who left the studio and came to the UK, and he in his own right was a great animator, but he never had a huge name like Glenn Keane. His name is Richard Baisley. If those of you who want to know, you can read on my website. Great animator, taught me a lot. But why am I saying this? Because the fact of the matter is what my system proves is that somebody who's never worked on those at that level, because I've worked on movies like 8 Crazy Nights, which isn't in the same league as a Beauty and the Beast or a Brother Bear, right? It's not even in the same league, but I've worked on the movies of that. I've storyboarded on multi-million-dollar movies like Tales of Despero, but they're not in the same league animation-wise as those classic Disney films. Yet I'm teaching you a way where you can self-train yourself, and you're learning from somebody who has been shown by Disney people, but not at that level. So what I'm basically doing is I'm giving you a foolproof system that if I can do it, and my students can do it, right? It's not, Daniel, it's really shit animation. I remember when I worked on it, I was virtually fired. It was my first job out of college, and I used to hero worship those people because they drew a certain way. And I wasn't fired. I was one of the only ones left on the project, but the project was taken away from the studio because it was doing such a bad job in the UK. And that's where I met my mentor, and he remembered my name, and he said, you know what, out of everybody in this studio, you're the only one that I really rate. I'm setting up a new studio in England. Come and live with me. I can't pay you much, so come and live with me and help me out a little bit, and I'll teach you. I took the offer up like nobody's business. But I was watching 8 Crazy Nights with my wife because I said to her, have you ever seen this? I worked on this and I'd like to see it again. And she said, okay. And both of us were looking and she said, your work shits all over this now. And I said, yeah, I can't believe how bad this is. I used to think this was great. I used to really think these guys had something on me. And back then they did. I was like 20 at the time I worked on that film. 20, 21, just straight out of art school. And that's the point I'm trying to make. I'm sharing with you stuff. It's a foolproof system. I've gotten people to certain levels and I'm sharing that stuff with you. And it's a way of there are no guarantees in life, but it's the closest thing to a guarantee that you don't have to. You can't like, yes, there is a difference. I've worked in the industry and you haven't. But I haven't worked on Renaissance stuff. And I'm a Renaissance level animator. As I've demonstrated right here with this, right? While talking on a live stream. So, Real Animator Training Library, if you're serious about really changing your life for the price of a child's toy, an Xbox with a couple of games, a mid-range HP laptop, you know, a large memory smartphone, you're going to have what I believe to be the best animation training in the world. So visit AMB Animation, click on Join the Real Animator Training Library, read all this stuff, listen to some testimonials, and the sign-up page is a lot easier now. You basically, you'll be saving potentially thousands of dollars if you get the bundle. It still costs the price of an expensive smartphone, but you'll be saving thousands if you get the bundle. You'll be saving hundreds, almost, you know, over $1,000 if you get the training bundle, and you'll be saving over, you know, you'll be saving $1.50 USD if you get the master bundle. Now here you can just individually buy these archives. Now, one of you guys showed interest in the professional lectures archive. Listen, at the moment on my site, PayPal, it's nothing to do with me. PayPal, my payment gateway, is updating and it's deleted all its old methods of paying. So basically it's caused a bug on a lot of software that's used it. So sometimes the buy now button isn't appearing. If you don't want to get a bundle, you can get a bundle using PayPal, but the buy now button isn't appearing on the single archive. Just simply send me a message. If you're a training library member and you want to get this latest archive of the Badger stuff, all of the scenes that we did animating the Badger are now I'm not uploading this on YouTube specifically for the reason that that the PayPal button isn't ready yet. But if you want to, it's condensed in 20 minutes here, but we've got all 14 live streams are now available in the edutainment archives. So edutainment archives have changed now. There's only 3 edutainment lectures, but the ones of the people who bought the previous edutainment archives, do not worry. In your records when you log into your dashboard, so if I go to my member dashboard, you will not find them here anymore. Okay, these are all the existing archives, right, available to buy. But where you will find the ones that you enrolled in is you go to my account, and in the list you can access your, so let's go to the live animation sessions, right? So let's say you wanted the live animation sessions, right? And you like the old series I did on dynamic perspective, right? Even though, like, it's still there for you, right? These are not available anymore because although I haven't been approached about certain things, I'm just being cautious about the future of AMB animation. As the internet is changing, certain laws are changing about what's what people can do and what people can't do. So those were different times when those archives were made, and the people who got them, you can appreciate those archives. But times have changed now, so we got to build new archives, new edutainment archives that do not use established characters, so to speak. So that's AMB Animation Real Animator Training. Go there if you seriously are sick and tired of being a frustrated dreamer. You want to be the ruler of your own reality. All right. I'm about to go. Audio. So I'm going to have a quick look. Edge Deep, we got the man Edge Deep in here. I hope Good Bear inspires you to have more ideas. Yeah, the Badger is also, Badger didn't do so well on his first round of social media. So neither did Gracie, but Gracie's getting a lot of love on her second round. So maybe same for him. So basically these characters are being developed to test the market, really. Edge Deep, good to see you, my friend. No, I didn't know the beast's real name. Somebody knows it. The Groundhopper isn't coming at all, because while the Groundhopper is a project I'd like to make, I'm focusing on Alpha Man at the moment. But even Alpha Man may go on hold for a little while we test out the Gracie crowdfunder, because I don't want to screw up the Alpha Man crowdfunder. I need to learn about crowdfunding, so I need to make mistakes. I made a huge mistake with Little Red. Some of you saw a little bit of Little Red in that reel. Terrible mistake I made with trying to crowdfund that. Lost a lot of money. So I think I will test out Gracie on the next crowdfund. Of course it's better looking than the Beast's human form. It was drawn by me. I felt bad for the scullery maid who always got clouted in the air. Am I going to make another effects archive? I think you've already got that effects archive, Zedpo, but possibly, yeah. Possibly I'll do my own effects archive. I was a little disappointed that those live streams got taken off the YouTube channel. Daydream Dragon, but that's how Real Animated Training works, you see. If I don't have people joining the library, then I can't continue to do what I'm doing. So I'm very generous. I leave this amazing information up for months and people are able to see it, and there's actually ways of downloading things of YouTube if you want, if you Google it. These are the things that happen. I mean, I'm revealing lots of amazing information for free, and you're getting it for free for months. But eventually, I have to maintain an income stream to continue doing what I'm doing. So it's like if people want to sign up to Netflix, nothing stays on Netflix, right? But nobody signed up to YouTube and they got amazing free information, and you're continuing to get it with this beast. I'm not taking this beast down for a while. A lot of these streams are useless to me in the modern age, where the copyright is going to be, because AI is here, copyright is going to be a big thing. So even doing fan art, you could be done. So a lot of this, it's useless to me in terms of as form of income. But I may deviate. I may delete them from YouTube and post them on my blog, on my website, so that people visit my website to watch my work at the very least. Because also, I don't like the fact that people are watching my thing and then they'll watch some crap which will completely undo all of the great stuff I've been teaching with some 20-year-old trying to draw anime. And then they'll go, I want to learn that. Well, you want to learn from AMB, you got to come to AMB Animation. That's how it is. But there's always going to be streams on YouTube, Daydream Dragon, for at least a couple of months. Some of them I might leave up for good. I might leave these beast ones up for good. Some of them I may just delete because I think they're tired and they're old and they're cluttering up my YouTube studio, and I want to just clean up. So I'm going to constantly be creating content. So don't worry. Even if you're not intending of joining the library, or even if you don't plan on joining ever in the future, it's okay, because I'm always repeating myself, right? A lot of what I said in the Badger stream is said on this Beast stream, right? Yes, Groundhopper Mutimisery, but we're not ready for Groundhopper yet. I don't want to screw up Groundhopper crowdfunding, and I'm not. My art isn't at the level that I think it should be for Groundhopper, right? Groundhopper is my magnum opus. It's not that Groundhopper is going away. I'm developing other projects which are making me a superior artist while I'm going along the way, and all that I learn from those projects I'm going to channel towards the Groundhopper. And the Groundhopper is something that will be presented. But all of the previous work done on the Groundhopper, with the exception of maybe the Great One dialogue, is not worthy of the Groundhopper, including that animatic on the wall. Has to be redone. It's very naive in places. Unfortunately, Zedbo, this is it. This is why, but never mind. I mean, I will be covering effects in other archives. I will be building more archives with effects and things in there. Gracie is a pin-up style cartoon bear in the style of, 90s Disney TV. Basically, the series is going to be about her being a cosplay girl who basically ends up, whenever she gets the cosplay on, suddenly the whole world changes and it's real world danger. And she really is that person who she's being. So if she's a nurse, she's really near the operating table and somebody's really dying and she's got to help the doctor, that kind of stuff. If she's Wonder Woman, suddenly she's got to save the world, right? That's the concept. And it's going to be presented as a crowdfunder. Thank you so much, Nathaniel. Are there any other anime that have animation that is on par with or better than Akira? Yeah, I mean, that Captain Nemo thing has got way better animation than Akira. I just prefer Akira as an overall film. The character animation in Akira is weak in many places, but Akira on the whole, as an overall film, is vastly superior. But Little Nemo has got amazing, probably the best character animation you'll find, because the Japanese worked with the US people and they wanted that type of acting. They wanted to up their acting. How exactly did you come up with the name Groundhopper? Well, in the series Kung Fu starring David Carradine, he's called Grasshopper, right? So this guy's a bunny rabbit or a hare. He's a groundhopper, right? I mean, yeah, I guess it's because is Gracie Bear really a superhero? She is a regular character, Nathaniel. She's not. She likes to dress up. She likes to dress up. That's her Mama Bear super costume, right? So, okay, right. So, that's it. I'm gonna go and have a NutriBullet. I haven't eaten anything. It's already 4, but it's been great doing this live stream, and I'll see you all on the next one. Do your work, not just your work and no more, but that little bit more for the lavishing sake, that little bit more that's worth all the rest. If you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it and the skies will clear. Then from your very doubt and suffering will be born the supreme joy of life. Remember to always keep it real. And for those of you who are about to draw, I salute you. I'll see you all on the next live stream. Bye-bye.